A big problem when running for an elected position is getting the people who will elect you to believe what you are saying, and that you are not a liar. The reason this is a problem is because of a few things, but one of the main reasons is because of the many people who have lied to get elected or lied when they were elected. We all know of famous cases of this, such as former President Nixon when it came to the infamous Watergate scandal, or when former President Bill Clinton stated that he did not have sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky. We also know countless times when a politician or someone has ran for an elected position and lied about what they plan to do when elected just for the sake of being elected. The point of the matter is, though, that in today's society, people will not think you are telling the truth. They will assume that you are a liar. To combat this, one must persuade the audience that you are not a liar, regardless of if that's true. Now, the key to persuading someone is to appeal to them. And luckily for those who wish to do this, the science behind appealing and persuading has already been done. In fact, it was done back in the days of the ancient Greeks by the famous Greek philosopher Aristotle. Aristotle broke the means of persuasion into three categories: ethos, pathos, and logos. The first category that one needs to learn is ethos. Ethos, in short, is the speaker's credibility. As said before, you want to appeal to the people if you want them to believe you. If you are a likable person or someone who has a lot of respect, then most people will want to believe what you are saying. We can see this in everyday life through commercials when a celebrity endorses a product. If Michael Jordan says something is good, then naturally people who like Michael Jordan are going to believe him. It is vastly important that you are a likable person when it comes to getting people to believe you. If you are not a likable person, then you need to appear likable. One of the most common ways to do this is to appear that you are just like the people you are speaking to. If your audience is middle class, then you're middle class. If your audience is CEOs of company, then you're also a business person. The point is that you are relatable and likable. The second category we will talk about is pathos. Pathos is persuading by appealing to your audience's emotions. This is also very important as most people listen to their emotions rather than using logic. We can see this in everyday life through commercials also. A prime example of this is when it comes to car commercials. If you can appeal to your audience emotions, then you can almost guarantee they will believe anything you say. The final category is logos. And as you probably guessed, it refers to using logic to prove what you are saying. The basic way to use logos is to not lie and provide concrete evidence that you are not lying. It is really hard for people to believe you are a liar if you are telling the truth. If you use Aristotle's three categories and do what was said, then you are guaranteed to have people believe what you are saying. Now, the method I just talked about has had a few counter-arguments against it. The first counter-argument I will address is one that I have heard from a few people, and it is that the method I told is invalid because of the fact that this method has been and is still being used by people and politicians every day, but yet still they have found it to be liars. Now, while yes, this is partly true in a way, I disagree with this statement. While yes, the people who say this are correct in the manner that this method has been and is practiced daily and they are still liars, that does not disprove the method. Now, the method, as I talked about, used Aristotle's three categories of persuasion to convince one's audience that he or she is telling the truth. So naturally, this method has been used for a very long time. But it doesn't mean just because there is liars who use this means the method is invalid. An excellent example I can use to show what I mean is that of former President Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, when running for office, was well liked, hence why he won the election against Bush with a considerable amount more votes. Now, all went well for Clinton until the infamous scandal with Monica Lewinsky, where his public image was thrown into the gutter and was caught lying, leading to his impeachment. Now, Bill, like many politicians, used the method I talked about well, I might add, but then broke one of the rules. This rule being that one has to be a credible person and likable, which Clinton clearly broke when he had the affair with Monica Lewinsky. Now, what this means is simple. The method does in fact work, as we saw it work with Clinton when running for office, and we see all the time with other politicians. The problem is not the method, but the people. All cases that we see of politicians being found out to be liars were not doomed by the method, but merely doomed by themselves. If Clinton or any other politician who was found out to be a liar actually followed and performed the method properly, then I assure you they would never have been found a liar. So the notion that this method is invalid is simply absurd, with the proof I have just given defending it. Another argument I have heard people say about my speech and the method is that everyone knows the method, and as such, everyone can see right through it, so when a politician uses the method, it does nothing but hurt them as the trick doesn't work. Now, this I will have to completely disagree with, and let me explain why. The reasoning behind the logic that once the trick is found out, then the trick is no more is just silly. I mean, if this was the case, then magicians would have been out of business decades ago. While, yes, many politicians do in fact know this method, after all, I stated, it was invented many, many years ago. It still works. Some might be able to see through this method, but the masses won't, as we can clearly see even to this day on how many people are convinced by politicians. Once again, another notion trying to disprove this method was, well, disproven. Now, the last comment I have heard regarding the method is that I have no significant proof that the method works, even when done properly by liars making people to believe them. To those who say this, I will have to agree. I do not have any evidence of a liar using this method so well that they've convinced everyone that they are not at all lying. Now, while yes, many will say that this proves the method invalid, this is not true. For I, or anyone else for that matter, will never be able to provide evidence, because if a liar used this method successfully, then we would never know the liar lied. And once again, I have proven this method works. Now, after disproving all of these comments, it is clear that the method works, and everyone listening should believe that because there are no other legitimate points to be made against it. Thank you.
All right.